Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having a great day. Today we're going to do our Mudbuster install on a Honda Pioneer. And for those of you wondering why I need those here in Arizona, well, when I did my portal lift in my 35s, I pushed those tires out 4 inches on either side from stock. So last time we did a trail ride, I had mud up on the roof. So let's go ahead and open up this box and see what it comes with. So I've already opened up the side just because I have the metal clips, but I have not pulled this stuff out yet. So let's see. There we go. So everything's dumped out on the table, and what do we got? Well, we got 6 pieces to install. So it looks like this is the back piece, obviously, because this will go around the ROMS system. Got 2 of those, one for either side, 2 of these. And 2 of these inside the white box. Lots and lots of bolts, and then the instructions. So it looks pretty simple. 6 pieces to install, lots of nuts and bolts. Hopefully it doesn't take me as long to install as it did the portals. All right, the first thing you're going to do is determine which pieces are the right side and the left side. Front and back is pretty easy. So for the rear, now I have the XLs. This is going to be your back upper piece, and this goes around the ROMS right there. And then this piece here is going to be your back lower, which is pretty easy to determine. For the front piece, well, it's a long piece like this. And determine which way is what. On the rears is pretty easy. For the front, you kind of see how they'll go in. So now that you determined which is the front and the rear, and the right and left, the instructions say to start with the rear upper piece. So the first thing the instructions say to do is to go ahead, open the door, and tip up the bed. It'll make it a lot easier. Now, one thing I want to show you is I only have these holes here. There's nothing else back here. You will have to put a couple self-tapping screws back here. I think I've got an updated kit because I don't have any holes here. And in the instructions, it says I need a number 3 Phillips screwdriver when I really just need a 4mm hex head. So it looks like they've changed the hardware, but they never changed the instructions. Not a big deal. We're gonna go ahead and press on. So what you'll do is you're gonna take your piece, and if you look, everything is nice and cut out with all the brackets and the molding. Once you get this lined up, you're going to take your marker or a punch, a scribe, whatever you need to go ahead and mark the plastic so that you can drill. Now I've already gone ahead and pre-drilled. Let me show you what it looks like. On the holes I drilled, you got these 3 here and 1 right here, and we got 1 more up here. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take one of these bolts with the spacers. Now these come pre-assembled, so you need to disassemble them. You're gonna take the bolt with the washer, and you're gonna slide it in. Then you'll go ahead, you'll take your spacer, then the Mudbuster mud guard, another washer, and then the Nylock nuts. Now this is where you really need 2 people. You can do it with 1. It's good. This takes a few extra minutes. Don't tighten anything up until everything has been put on. So now that I have this top part bolted up, let me show you what it looks like. Nice and bolted here. You have this hole right back here. Now in your kits, there's a 3/4 inch and a 1 inch. And then you'll use these 2 spacers here in a minute. So you can use the shorter bolt. You go in from the top, through the hole, and I'll tighten that one up right there. So once you get this last bolt right here tightened, you can go ahead and put some self-tapping screws. Now, remember I said in the beginning, there's no slots here. The version of the instructions show 3 or 4 slots so we can see where to put the self-tapping screws. Not a big deal if you just feel. Make sure you look before you put them in. It's not hitting any wiring or anything behind there. As you can see, put 1, 2, and then 3 right there. So once you get the upper rear piece complete, the next piece you're going to install is the lower rear piece, which is right here. Now this piece is also going to require 2 bolts with the spacers, and then 3 with no spacers. And let me show you what it looks like. So once you get it lined up, you're gonna mark the holes and drill it. So let's get that done. Right, now I've got the top 3 in, as you can see, 1, 2, and 3. And I actually tightened them down, and it's fairly sturdy. I've gone ahead and I drilled the holes on the bottom 2. So the bottom 2 are different. The top 3 are just the 3/4 inch bolts with 2 washers and the nylon nut. There's nothing else there. These bottom 2, if you look, there's that lip there, require the spacer. So what you do is pop both those in, and then you'll use a second hand. Go ahead, get your spacer on. Get your spacer on just like that. And then you're gonna feed it through to the back. And it's as simple as that. So there's my pieces, pretty stout. And for those of you wondering why I took the tire off, it's because I couldn't get to drill these holes from the back forward with my tire on. But let me show you what it looks like closed. So there's what it looks like all said and done with the bed closed. Here you go. It's got nice coverage, but there is one downside to this, and let me show you what I mean. If you listen, you hear it dragging. You can actually see the drag marks right there. So the only way I can get the door to shut is by pushing down just a little bit. Now there could be a couple reasons why. One, I could have just installed it a little bit off. I have tried loosening the bolts, readjusting. Number 2, it could just be that it's plastic. It needs to kind of warm up. It'll kind of hold the new shape, and there we go. I could take a heat gun to it, but honestly, it's Arizona heat. It's already 105 degrees outside. I don't know if you can tell I'm sweating, but I'm gonna leave it just fine. So I'm gonna put the wheel back on, and we're gonna move to the front. All right, now that the rear is done, we're gonna go ahead and move up to the front. Probably this whole install, the upper rear is probably the most difficult. The lower rear is pretty easy, and the front's not too bad. So when you start on the front, the first thing you're gonna need to do is pull these 2 plastic rivets up here. So I have my handy dandy rivet puller. 1. And 2. If you look at your piece, these 2 pieces right here actually line up with those rivets, and then these outside 2 holes, you're gonna have to drill holes. And the same thing with the bottom. Now, on the bottom, you don't have to actually pull the wheel off. You can turn the wheel just far enough to get the drill bit in. The first thing that I like to do is take those plastic rivets and put them through these outside holes to line them up right here, and then I can mark all the holes that I'm gonna need to drill. Now what I did on the other side is I installed the top piece first before I drilled anything down the side. And that way I could apply a little bit of pressure so that you didn't have a gap here. Now, right here in the instructions, it does say you can put some self-tapping screws. My only issue with that is you're just going into plastic, so I would rather not. There's nothing behind it. Up here, for those of you wondering how you're gonna get over here, if you just stick your hand in here, this all pulls back. Now being that I'm on my last fender to install, all I have left in here are the 1-inch bolts, and that's exactly what you need. The 3/4 inch bolts only go in the back. The 1-inch bolts all go in the front because these fender flares are completely hollow. So what you're gonna do is you get your bolts with your washer, and you go ahead, you're gonna feed it on up. And this is where it takes just a little bit of time to pull down, put the washer on the back with the nut, and slowly get everything tightened up. What I do is I get the outside 2 started, and I snug those down, and then I put the inside ones in. Well, I've got the top done. I actually got all 4 screws in, and let me show you how. So I started off by getting this screw in, because you get your hand in this way, followed by this screw. This screw here, if you actually go to the front of the vehicle, you can get your hand up. Before you put this one in, you can get your hand up in here with your wrench to get that one on. And then this is the last one. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4. If you tighten this one down, there's no way you can get back here to get your hand in there. So now what they say is to take this, you got your holes, get it nice and lined up so that you don't have to put any screws there, and go ahead and do the same thing with the bolts down here at the bottom. So let me come around here to the other side. So what you can do is you pull this fender back to get these 4 bolts. Start at the top 2 and work your way down. If you notice, I have just enough room in there to get my drill with the tire turned. Well, that's it, installing the Mudbusters mud flares. Pretty simple process, takes about an hour. I hope I got some good video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's not a real hard process, just take your time. There's not a lot of tools needed. But as you can see, it does cover almost the whole tire. I got about inch and a half on the front sticking out and about a half an inch in the rear. It is the one issue here, and I can tell you now that's already started to get better just by having some pressure on it for the last hour. The Mudbuster should stop a significant amount of the mud and dirt flying up and hitting me and my family. Yes, I know it's my own fault running the big tires and the big lift, but you know what? I love it. I think it's awesome. We got more stuff coming to the channel. We're almost done with the Pioneer. I got 1 or 2 more things I want to do with it. We got this thing coming to the channel. We're going to do a review on it, a nice walk around. I'm going to do a small install on it. We're going to see if we can get some bigger rims and tires on this thing, because those little 25-inch tall tires don't really work, and I got a whole stack of UTV tires back there. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and until next time.